Welcome my friends, this is Maniacal Incorporated, returning to the rice mod in search of more buttery goodness. The last time I checked out the Mayo flavoured update, I played as a landless character. This time, I'm going to check out some of the landed options as the King of Evonia in 867 Magron. To start with though, we're going to pick our lifestyle, and Magron is learning focused and has taken the Scholar tree. He's part of the ways down through Theologian. We could reset the perks and take Theologian instead, because we need piety and we need diplomacy, which is why I'm going to start in that direction and go for the Majesty focus. So we need a lot of piety and a lot of prestige for what we want to do today. We're also going to try and organise some big alliances to keep the neighbouring powers at bay for our son and heir, Mweriduk, because it's entirely possible we won't get everything done in a single lifetime. I'm going to marry Mweriduk out to a princess of West Francia to bring in an alliance of 4,000 troops. And for Magron himself, look, if they'll give me an alliance of 1,300, I think it's for the best that she can't see her new husband. As Magron, we have our headquarters in Dunvunnagalava, but the first thing I'm going to do is move the capital to Mayo, to Rothkroken. And one of the reasons for that, like I said, is if we have more children, and if Magron dies before we actually get everything done, we want to keep possession of Mayo for a number of different reasons. One of them is because Mayo has a castle in 867, and it's a big castle built on top of Croagh which is a special building. So the Rice mod has added a number of these to the game. Possession of Croagh gives us 2 gold per month from all the pilgrims going up in their bare feet, and some extra control growth. So we have a few other buildings around the place. We have Giant's Causeway. There's the Rock of Cashel. And in Dublin, I think there's 2, but the one that's of interest, unfortunately, is Kells, which is under Viking control. So I've commented on this in the past that Dublin is a bit too big. It's a bit too thick. And this would have been part of Meath, so I know I'll be talking a bit about it today. Mandead's Tip Volume 2 mod actually broke out the counties, made Dublin a lot smaller, and would have handed some baronies here to Meath. So Kells historically would have been part of Meath, not part of Dublin or under Viking control at this time, but we can visit it and get some learning lifestyle, and it will give its holder tax and artifact decay reduction, sure the Book of Kells was kept well in there after them Viking divils forced the evacuation of Iona. Now, while Kells can preserve artifacts, bogs can preserve butter. Calm yourself, we will bury some bog butter soon. We will start, however, by consecrating a holy well. It costs 25 gold and 150 prestige. So this is a new option that's available to us as an Irish ruler. And we have to be landed, so this was something I couldn't do in the unlanded playthrough. So we have consecrated our holy well for as long as this county modifier is active. Rulers who own the county it is in or have a domicile there can access the Visit a Holy Well activity. That is great to hear. And the Earldom of Mayo now has increased holding taxes, control growth, and popular opinion. That is absolutely fantastic. Indeed, by visiting our activity screen, we now have the option to visit a holy well. And that's going to give us some stress loss, some piety, and some legitimacy. And there is a chance of getting healing waters of a holy well. So do you know what? For 25 quid, we might as well start off by paying a visit. And as we visit that well, one of our new alliances drags us into a war. We can manage things from the well. And so we will raise an Irish brigade and send them to fight in the Spanish Civil War, and commanding the Irish forces will be our suffragan bishop, Ardgar, because there have been a few changes to insularism very much in keeping with things I would have discussed on the channel in the past, and which Mandate would have incorporated into the Tip Volume 2 mod. So we have recruitment, clerical function recruitment, clerical marriage allowed, clerical appointment temporal for life, so on the death of your court chaplain, you'll be able to appoint their successor, who could then end up serving in the army. So this would be very much in keeping with the idea of powerful families financing the construction of abbeys and monasteries, and then those institutions looking to that family for the appointment of their future abbots, in a quite often in a kind of a defensive capacity, especially to help in the defence against the Vikings. And we will pray for the success of the Irish Brigade in a swamp in Mayo. We will pray to God in the insular manner and leave offerings before we depart. We will dump a ton of Kerrygold down the well. It was a wonderful experience. So 30% chance of gaining the healing waters, and we gain some piety and lose some stress. And this is the worst thing now. As we've deployed our army overseas, Tiernan of Breffni has begun raiding us, the devil. To see if we can maybe cause him a bit of trouble, we're going to create the Duchy of Connacht title. And though Breffni, which is raiding us, is historically part of the province of Connacht, Tiernan is refusing to accept vassalization because he's arrogant. Not entirely sure what's happened, but we have become the head of the Irish culture. In the middle of this thing, we've unfortunately suffered a second siege, which hasn't gone very well. I'd say Tiernan's going to be getting a bit of a visit from us. But as the head of the Irish culture, there isn't a huge amount that we can do. There are a few cultural and regional additions for Ireland, including Habagbather, which we've seen a lot of, and will be seeing more of, and Cranogues, which impact building construction costs in forests and wetlands. And so after a few sieges and a big cut across the face, Magrawn has assisted his allies to victory. And it only makes sense that to celebrate we would undertake a pilgrimage to Croagh to give thanks and praise to God. We will gain some piety, lose some stress, gain the pilgrim trait, and we have a chance of gaining some beneficial character modifiers depending on our level of devotion, which isn't great at the moment. So we must be either Christian or pagan. What is now Croagh had a pagan tradition going back before St. Patrick. And we also must either hold the Earldom of Mayo, or our capital is close to Mayo, or the Ireland region. So I know that it says that you must be close to Croagh. This is a local pilgrimage, but I'm not too sure. I presume from Britain you can visit, probably not from Italy. So we have our options. We're going to undertake an active devotion to get some piety, because we have to get up a few levels of piety. We're going to focus on worship, so we could also do role model or curiosity. We're going to focus on worship, and seems though we have the money together. We could get 50 piety, 100 extra, or 200 extra, plus some development growth in the capital. And we have pilgrimage graffiti, we have 100, and then 25 renown. And we can go for 200 prestige and 50 renown. We might as well. Do you know what? We'll spend the lot. Ireland, we are told, is an island filled with many sacred sites, but one of the most popular is Croagh the mountain, where St. Patrick himself fasted for 40 days at its summit, where he fought with a big crow. He threw a bell at a big crow that was annoying him, and he negotiated with an angel to be given the right to judge all the Irish. It was a busy time up there. May St. Patrick protect me. There, we're at the bottom getting a family photo in front of Croagh. Now, I know what that is. So we have a courtier. I'm going to decline. So he's offered to return a hostage. I've declined because I'm going to raid those hostages back from him. However, there is now the fear that Tiernan might begin blinding members of our family, because this is another option that's been added as part of the Brehon Law trait, is the ability to blind prisoners, quite a common occurrence between rival families. We also have the ability for rulers are more likely to exchange hostages. And again, hostage giving and hostage taking and exchanging hostages would have been a big part of effectively the legal framework at this point in time. Rulers that made an agreement would exchange hostages to back up that agreement, and if the agreement was broken, we'll say if there was peace between rulers, they'd exchange important hostages, and if that agreement broke down, out comes the blinding knife. We will worry about that later on, however, because we must give praise to God. And we have the opportunity. People still do this today. We have the opportunity to climb Croagh barefoot. We'll gain 20 stress one way or another, because we're zealous, so we might as well gain it, and some piety. My feetsies are tired from climbing up the rocky side of Croagh for what seems like hours, but I am not the only one. Countless other pilgrims around me are doing the same, and we can get some information on St. Patrick's chair. Let's keep going just a little bit more. Our feet have endured much and ache with seemingly no reprieve when we reach the summit of Croagh. And it's said that St. Patrick fasted, and when his fast ended, God gave him the right to judge all the people of Ireland at the last judgment. God basically sent an angel to tell him to stop fasting. And St. Patrick wouldn't. He made demands. And one of them was that, there's a couple of different versions. One is that he gets the right to judge the Irish at the last judgment, so we're all going to heaven because of St. Patrick's sound. Another version is that, I think it's 7 years before Judgment Day, Ireland will disappear under the waves and will be spared the horrors of what is to come. So, if you ever see a news report that Ireland has vanished, 7 years, that's all you've left. The journey down the mountain felt easier than the journey upward. As St. Patrick said, Christ be with me, Christ be before me, one of his best-selling works. Made tons of money off of the royalties. And we gain 200 piety, 150 piety, we lose 5 stress, we gain 100 piety, we lose 5 stress, we become a pilgrim, we gain 10 trait in the pilgrim trait, 50 prestige, 20 legitimacy, 20 development growth, 25 renown, and even more legitimacy. So, for 25 gold, this is an absolutely incredible amount of stuff, and we could have gotten a small bit more if I had paid more money. But a fantastic addition to the island of Ireland. And of course, I think we also got some various traits for actually visiting Croagh itself, so it's great to see the addition of some actual special buildings on the island of Ireland, because I don't think there were any. Maybe Armagh as a holy site, I might be wrong, but pretty much Hadrian's Wall was where you had to go, or to visit the court of the King of Alba. Tiernan is sending us another offer for every single penny we have. Sure, Tiernan, I'll deliver that money personally. So Tiernan wants money. We want revenge. We will compromise with butter. First thing we're going to do is bury the good stuff. The best of the best butter will be buried in a bog known only to Magrone. It's going to cost us 15 quid, and I think it's in a year's time then we can go and dig it up. I love my butter, but I am prepared to be parted with it for a while. I can't wait to retrieve it. And as a landed ruler of the Irish culture, we have a new interaction with other landed Irish rulers, and that is to gift them luxury butter. Now, there is a bit of an issue, a bit of an error. This should be 100%. Who in their right mind is going to reject the gift of luxury butter? So this is kind of, in this time period, depending on your station, if you're extending hospitality to somebody, or if, as part of a contract or an agreement, you had to extend hospitality to somebody, they were entitled to certain amounts and types of food depending on their station. And at the very bottom rung, you got no butter. You wouldn't really have been sending hampers of luxury butter to neighbouring rulers and things like this. He's not going to accept. It costs 25 quid. He's not going to accept, and I don't think there's really anyone else around here who might think about accepting. So this lad can't. He's probably the only one that actually would. We're up to 45%. We'll take a chance, so we'll gain 112 prestige. He'll gain 131, so it's a great way of turning money into prestige if there are people who like you, because if this fails, we can't do it again for about 10 years. And indeed, it looks to have failed, because otherwise we would have gotten a pop-up. At the moment, the only man on the island of Ireland who would accept our butter does not believe in the existence of butter. Ivar the Boneless is defending Dublin from A. Finlia, who is making an attack to seize the settlement. And while we have a slight bit of a numerical advantage, we will also go on a war of conquest. Breffni moved in against us. We've become wounded again. I don't think this man knows how to fight without becoming wounded. And here is a gentleman that we brought back with us from our trip to Spain. He's cured us of our wound and he's made that skull go away. And here is an opportunity to get wounded in another part of the world. We've been called out. It actually got infected. It actually got really bad there for a second, but it's gone again. Never mind. Let's go and get a wound out in Europe. We've taken control after a short siege. Oh yeah, our wife. And of course, the second that we send our armies out to defend our allies, we get raided by this divil. And as we return to Ireland to do some raiding, we receive the devastating news that Munster has fallen to men who do not know the glory of butter. Now, for the last of our Mayo flavoured landed updates, we need to get some more prestige and piety together, so I'm going to undertake a pilgrimage to Armagh, and I'm going to visit some of the special buildings along the way. We have the Abbey of Kells, we have the Hill of Tara, and all the ways up to Giant's Causeway. We will leave the Rock of Cashel alone for now, because Desmond is actually being attacked by the Vikings that seized Clare and Limerick. And as you can see, before these unique buildings were added for Ireland, as I was saying, Hadrian's Wall and the Scottish capital, that's where you had to go if you wanted to get to any points of interest. So these are really cool additions for the island of Ireland. And as we make our way towards Armagh from the Hill of Tara, we witness the seizure of Dublin by A. Finlia. He may very well yet achieve his goal. And so what we could do is carry out an exchange of hostages. Like I said, the Brehon law trait as part of the Irish culture makes it more likely that rulers will accept exchanges of hostages. So our grandson, or his son, two very high-ranking members of the families, as a commitment to maintaining peace between us. And as you can imagine, if hostilities were to break out, both of these would most likely end up blinded, so there's an incentive for the families to maintain peace, because if these are potential future rulers, if they are blinded, then they will be removed from the chain of succession. There was a belief in Ireland that for somebody to rule, they had to be without blemish, and blinding somebody was quite often a way of preventing them from coming to power in future. Within families, powerful members would quite often blind potential contenders for the throne. So let's exchange some hostages with Afinlia. So our son has departed for Afinlia's court, and Donal has arrived in ours. And it was quite common for very important individuals, future rulers, to be given out as hostages. And we're absolutely delighted with our decision to send our son away as a hostage. Here is a very cold man that we meet in Armagh, And he gives us the nickname Magrone the Proud. And we've every right to be proud. We had a great visit to Armagh. We've gotten 268 piety, which is enough to bring us up to devoted servant. Now we just need to deal with that prestige. And speaking of prestige, I totally forgot about the butter. Let us harvest the butter crop. Bog butter. So we get 75, and we get 0.2 prestige per month, diplomacy per level of fame, and we get some plague resistance because of all the beneficial bacteria. But because their low status means that they cannot receive butter if they are granted hospitality, the peasants are rising up against Magrone. They will never get my butter. There's going to be heavy losses on both sides. It looked like a battle that could have gone either way there for a while. They were in a good defensive position. And while we could blind their commander, he has some good traits, and I am in need of some good knights. So let's try and recruit him. And then maybe he'll get some butter. Once a brigand, Urgalach has no option but to accept our offer, and now he will defend our bog butter from brigands in future. Or maybe he'll die in Spain, who knows? So one way that we can gain prestige is to successfully gift luxury butter. Another way is to butter up the wife. Do you know what it'd be? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's plant a letter. Let's secretly hide a letter in her chambers. My declaration of love is for Alonza's eyes only. Yeah. And hell's bells, our battle bishop has been killed in Spain just as we are dealing with some religious refugees fleeing from Munster. Our battle bishop has died in action. Which gives us a fantastic opportunity to look at the ability to appoint a bishop. So here is, just like appointing any other member of the court, we don't have any great battle bishop candidates. We could give the position to Crahur, considering that he's likely not going to hold it for very long. But Elganon, as you're the best at learning, we might as well stick you in there. And so now we are not able to revoke that clerical appointment once it has been made. Oh no, Alonza is in trouble. She's standing at the edge of the river and there's a shady figure. Thankfully, Magrone is able to slap the intruder in the face with a stick of butter, blinding him and saving his wife. We're down a battle bishop, but we have achieved another victory in Spain in our second or third war. We've also unlocked the ability to declare war and vassalize. We're going to vassalize Arguilla and bring Armagh under the control of Connacht. It was a short war, and we're going to demand Conglach's son as a hostage. He's not in line to inherit anything, but we're now in a position to educate him alongside Donal. So basically we're educating everyone's children except our own. Now, if there was ever a man that made me think, that man knows his way around a stick of butter, it's Conglach. Now, we're not in a position to offer him any luxury butter just yet, but I'm quite confident. I'm quite confident that Conglach will accept when it's offered to him. And rather foolishly, Ulster has decided to start raiding Drumhair. Well, they've killed one of our knights, and we don't have a lot of them. But while we've lost a knight, we've gained a ton of money with which we can hold a hunt. Donald O'Vole, Afinlea's son, has gained some intrigue and has begun to question, is he loyal to House Enail or to the Ivruan Eye? We'll tell him he's a hostage, nothing more, but we could make him begin questioning who he owes his loyalty to. That could be interesting. And while we gain 5 gold because we found some dinosaur eggs, the stag that we were hunting is gone. Well, did I not tell you that this is a man who knows his way around rich and creamy butter, Congluk, who we have just vassalized, has sent us a gift. We could, for some strange reason, the decline option is available. We will, of course, accept. I didn't even check what would happen if we declined. I didn't even know. I don't even understand why there's a decline option. We have gained 112 prestige. He's gained 131. And I think he's gained some legitimacy. And we have gained the gift. The greatest gift of them all. The gift of butter and friendship. Now I want more butter buddies, but we don't have very many options at the moment. Ulster is being attacked as part of a war. Nobody's actually going to conquer it. The Vikings in Munster are heading into Leinster, and Ivar the Boneless finds himself in a very weakened state in Dublin. So we will try and take this opportunity to declare war. Look at all these places that we could declare war for. I think the very first time I ever declared war in CK3, I don't know why I thought of it now. I had a big list of things. I think I actually only had 2 to pick from. And I picked the wrong one. I ended up conquering someplace in Norway instead of... I think it was Ulster I was going for. God, those were the days. I regret absolutely nothing, but it is crystal clear that the butter was too rich and too creamy. I regret nothing, though. One bit of a problem we do now have, however, is that we don't have much of an army that's able to take on Dublin, and none of our allies will join. And also, Dublin's allies are joining. So we're in a bit of bother. And there we go, a hefty defeat at the hands of Ivar the Boneless. Our allies in France, Charles the Bold, refusing to help, and we're being raided down. God damn you. When nothing else is going right in your life, that's a sign that you should visit Croagh-Patrick. And look at this, we decided to bring Donald O'Vole with us, who is still in the court. He'll have plenty of stories to tell when he's eventually allowed go back to Alach. But that's only going to be when Muireduk's son Sean is returned. So, a big heap of piety, some prestige, some family renown, and every participant, including Donald O'Vole, has gained 50 piety. So as we try and rebuild our army, the man who killed our father with rich creamy butter, Congluk, becomes our true friend. Like I said, there's friendship in butter. As well as making a friend, Muireduk has completed a scheme to romance his wife. However, a rather suspiciously dressed intruder tried to interfere. Muireduk has driven them away. He's also become a father for the 4th and 5th time. His wife has had twins. One sweet kiss, as sweet as the taste of rich creamy butter, is all that Muireduk will take. And one of the reasons why he will only take a kiss from his wife is because it's entirely possible he'll divorce her. The alliance with her father is worth nothing because he won't join any of our wars. He doesn't like us, and one of the problems is our low legitimacy. And a way of dealing with that, which will either It might improve relations with him, but it will definitely help our children to secure better alliance marriages. One of the ways of dealing with that is to go and visit a holy well, the holy well that Murdoch's father built. So we get 50 legitimacy, it's going to go up to recognised, and we'll get a bit of piety as well, 100 piety. And that increase in legitimacy will now allow us to form an alliance between our daughter and one of the younger sons of the King of Alba, who's in a bit of trouble at the moment. He has a couple of wars. He's doing A-OK. There's a chunk of madness going on up here. So we're going to send that alliance. He doesn't have many more troops than us, but he has caused enough trouble, I think, that I've no idea what's going on in the Isles anymore. It's Mon now. So there we go. As expected, we're being called into a few wars. Well, look at this first scenario. So our new ally, Constantine of Alba, and a foreign ruler, Charles II, who we're allied with, but won't actually honour our alliances. I'm not too sure why he's not being described as our father-in-law. The two of them are calling us in to a conflict against A. Finlia and A. of Moray, who wants to become the new ruler of Scotland. So yeah, we are in a rather bizarre scenario now. A has our son, and we have A's son. So we could kill Donal. We'll see. We're not going to carry out any actions just yet. He didn't kill my son, did he? The absolute devil. My erstwhile hostage, Donal Dovol, now languishing in my jail. My pact with High Chieftain A is most definitely over. Yeah. It most definitely is. The war for High Chieftain A's claim to Alba has been defeated. We joined in and contributed to bringing that to an end. I was bringing my soldiers back to attack Meath, which has now left the war. So our new successor is poor Fingon, 1 year of age. The first of the two twins to be born. So, Muel Isa, do you know what? We could prep Muel Isa for the priesthood. And Fingon will rule. So, secular power will be held by Fingon and ecclesiastic power by his brother. And so with French aid, Alba and the Irish have gone in against the Viking horde that brought us in this direction in the first place. And with that victory, Constantine has secured Scotland. The sacrifice of our soldiers and our son Sean in the war in Scotland has earned us respect and legitimacy, and we're going to use it to enact revenge. First of all, however, we are going to mourn the death of our son by handing out thank you for your condolences, Buther. So here is a member of the family who I've installed in Breffni. There's a good chance he'll accept the Buther. And indeed he does. And sure, who could say no to a gift of tasty, tasteful Buther? It's wrapped in black wrapping as a sign of mourning. Buther is highly regarded among Irish, and for good reason. It's damn tasty. So tasty, it killed a former king of Connacht. So we lose 25 quid, we gain 112 prestige. A has gained some prestige, increased opinion, and he's getting some legitimacy gain. Well, fair play to him. But as the saying goes, revenge is a dish best served covered in butter. Chieftain A executed our son who was his hostage. We are going to take our revenge. We are going to push our claims for the High Chiefdom of Meath And we're going to rapidly call in our father-in-law because we have a bit of an issue, and that is that Scotland had... Yeah, it's gone back to war, so it's actually attacking Strathclyde, which, if I am correct, is allied to A, so it's entirely possible. Actually, yeah, A is now fighting in 2 wars. So Scotland is already fighting against A. I don't think they're going to come down and actually contribute to this war in any way, make, shape, or form, but we're not going to call them in. I don't know how good of a job we've done of raising him, but Fingon, the son of our vassal, Conglach, who is allied with A, well, Fingon has come of age, so we're going to send him back to his own home with a hook in place. Get your things, it's time to go home. And I thought I'd invited this guy into our war against me. I'm not too sure what's going on, but he's fighting in another war against A, so he can't join this one. Not fantastic, but we'll have to send our forces in against A's army, and A is actually commanding it himself. And we will most likely just try and hunt him down. I'm sure he'll probably try and get out and get to Strathclyde. Fair play to her. Our wife, who we were considering divorcing, has given us another daughter. If nothing else, more alliance and possibly hostage exchange material. Finlia is attacked and defeated for a 3rd time, just as we are told that our alliance with Charles II has collapsed and we are called into a war, into a holy war, for Northumberland, which we will accept. And goddamn and blast the devil, the new ruler of West Francia, Louis the Stammerer, will not accept an alliance, even if we get rid of that -50 for being in a war. We've too many alliances, apparently. Now, Finlia has called in his allies. They're busy sieging down one of our settlements, but they haven't actually decided to move out to help A, who has been heavily beaten. Now, they're probably going to join up, unfortunately. They haven't, which is fantastic. A is going to bring his men in too late. That's even better. And Moray will have a lengthy trek back. Whereas, hopefully, we're going to be in a position to catch Finlia for what must be the 6th or 7th time. And indeed, our bishop has actually wounded him, as we have to try and deal rapidly with the wolves of St. Bridget, adventurers for hire, who've appeared out of somewhere. The devil, his many fragile bones shattered, possibly after our bishop injured him and pushed him over. And now we have A of Meath as our prisoner. We will enforce our demands, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to take any hostages because he has none to give us. The entire court is in pieces. He's not looking great either. And now look who's ended up back in our court. Our vassal, Donald of All. Donald, you're looking well, and you'll just have to trust me when I tell you that so am I. For millennia to come, they will tell tales of the great feasts that will be held in Connacht, and of the new game, Hide the Butter, from Donald of All. And even though he has a smaller army than that of his brother, we're going to make him our steward. -57. Oh yeah, because we blinded him. This lad is -100. We drove your brother's eyes out, and he doesn't even hate us as much as you do. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Constantine, the King of Scotland, is dead, and there goes our alliance. Our Archbishop Algernon has jumped up. He's droning on and on and on about God all the time. We could make a laughingstock out of him and lose some stress because we actually have a lot. However, he has, as our battle bishop, killed 2 enemy knights, and he, of course, wounded a Finlea just before he died from falling over and breaking his fragile bones. So instead, we're going to act like a pious little pansy. We're going to get him out of the way, because we've much more important things to deal with. Somebody has butter for me. It's Congluch. Congluch is back with more butter. We will gain... we'll gain 112. We will gain 5% legitimacy. And monthly court grandeur. So Congluch will gain 131 and will gain 20 legitimacy, which we did not gain when we gifted out butter, and of course it depends on the comparative rank of the recipient and the butter E. So because he's giving us the butter, and because he's giving butter to somebody of a higher rank, he's getting prestige, more prestige, and he's getting legitimacy. We will of course accept what. We'll just look at what could possibly... No. Butter. And unfortunately, here is a man that knows absolutely nothing about butter. The new Pope, we've started a scheme to sway him, because he doesn't like me enough to give me money. Money that we can use to buy more butter. Now, there are other things we could buy with money. We've gotten a chunk of it from raiding a tiny bit of Scotland, mostly, however, Ulster, and temporarily, a very weakened Dublin. And one of those things that we can buy that isn't butter is the Crown of Ireland. And it is fair to say that we have built the Kingdom of Ireland, the new Irish court, on butter. And here is Congluch, a man who has accepted butter, a man who has sent us and our father Magrón butter, which has given us legitimacy and prestige with which to get to the position that we're in today, so it's great that we're sharing this moment with Magrón. In Ulster, poor Cathalan expanded into Galloway, and then we raided down Ulster. He actually raised an army as we were sieging Galloway in a desperate attempt to stop us. He knew what we were trying to do, but wisely, he will accept vassalization. Now, while we have established a great and mighty butter kingdom, we are still without any alliances, but we're in a position to get better alliances than we were before establishing the kingdom. Muraduk's half-sister Bridget was in her mother's court in the north of Spain. I've managed to convince her to return home, and we're going to organise a marriage with Kinnaid of Moray. Now, he doesn't like us, and that's because we have fought each other a few times, especially when he was an ally of a Finlea and actually took part in the war to defend a Finlea's territories in Meath. He came in at the end, but thankfully they weren't able to combine together, so we'll send that proposal. And it's not much, but for now it's all that we can do. We'll organise a marriage for our daughter Lucia to the Moormare of Orkney. Now, the reason why we need to get some alliances up and running is because while we control most of the northern half of the island, Leinster and Ormond will not accept vassalization because we are too far distant from them. But the big threat that we are facing is big Viking Munster, 3,200 troops. They have almost completed a war in West Francia, and once that ends, they could very well start to look either to attack us or to absorb these two entities here, creating a massive rival power on the island. So what we're going to do... This is where Muraduk's rule started and almost came to an end. So Dublin is fairly weak at the moment, and it's actually involved in a war defending this absolute divil. That's not going very well, which we're delighted to see, but we're going to take this opportunity to declare war. and try and finally complete the conquest of Dublin. We've called in one of our allies, but indeed, there goes the neighbourhood. Ormond is under attack by Munster. So we're in a rather strange state here. We have 1,800 troops against the roughly 1,800 of our enemy, but if we go in against them, because they're defending in wetlands, they have a better commander and higher quality troops. So we're going to have to, basically, I think, try to take Ossory, which one of their units is controlling. They've called in more allies, though. That's the only problem. So we might actually have to call in Moray, who I am quite surprised has agreed to join. And Ossory, rather foolishly, decided to go out to see what they could see. They have brought in their men ashore. Foolishly, we have destroyed them just after bringing Moray in. We've actually captured some troops. And we have done enough to bring the war to an end. While we were taking Dublin, Munster has seized Ormond and now extends its grasp over the entire ancient kingdom of Munster. Now, while he might be a Norse pagan, the ruler of Munster understands something of the greatness and glory of butter. He has respect for us and it's actually going up. I wonder if we could potentially sway this guy and at least get him to not think about attacking us. I'm not too sure if we can get him to accept vassalization at any stage, but we will at the very least see if we can try and get him to not think about attacking us. And speaking of vassals, the arrogant and stubborn Chiefess Dervla of Leinster will not accept vassalization, and so we are going to declare war to conquer the duchy. She has, as of now, absolutely no allies, and it is imperative, I don't know how we managed to step right past each other, that's impressive. It is imperative that we prevent her from falling under the control of this absolute devil. There's not exactly a whole heap that we can do. I'm afraid to say we're going to have to surrender Dublin. So I think this is maybe the second time that Dublin has been seized and then effectively immediately lost. We have some bit of a consolation. We have victory in our war against Leinster. I did start a scheme to murder the ruler of Munster. That didn't give me very great chances. I hired a few people. There was a breach. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just keep that in place for a while because he is quite young. It's going to be a while before he dies of old age. He has a chunk of special soldiers. That's the big problem, is the amount of special soldiers that he and Brittany, I think, have. His main ally in Brittany. But we have, at the very least, like I said, brought this war in Leinster to an end. She's not going to hand over any hostages because she's going to lose her realm. Well, tough. From that last war, we have 2 prisoners in our court, members of the Dalburn, who were driven out of Ossory, and indeed one of them actually has a claim to the earldom of Ossory. So I'm going to negotiate his release. And even though he absolutely hates me, I am going to grant him the earldom of Leinster. We're going to try and make it look like our military campaigns overall were a success. I'm going to create the Duchy of Ulster and gift it to my bestest buddy in the whole world. He's not in great health. Chieftain Conglach of Arguilla. Swaying him hasn't worked, fighting him militarily hasn't worked, killing him hasn't worked. Let's try and befriend him. When we took control of Muireduch, he had started down the family hierarch route, and I decided to keep him on that. We've made it all the ways to patriarch. So he's on the Majesty focus. I'm wondering, do I want to keep him there and go for August? Do I want to change and maybe go for Theologian, or even possibly something Martial or Stewardship related? I think for now I will leave him as is. And actually what we'll do is travel to Croagh-Patrick and see if we can find answers to the question of which lifestyle we should follow next. This time around we're not going to be able to climb the mountain barefoot with this heavy crown on our head. It would drive us into critical levels of stress. We didn't find any answers, but we also didn't find any lightning. It's possible that members of your entourage can be killed by a lightning storm, and that was added as a reference to an event in the 1100s, which is attested in some of the annals. We gained piety, we gained prestige, we gained legitimacy, gained a bit of pilgrim trait, and we engaged with local religious practices, so +1 learning, growth control, and popular opinion. And I think we've also lost a tiny bit of stress. And it's a good thing we lost that stress, because we're about to get a whole heap more. Not alone has our scheme to befriend the ruler of Munster failed, but we've made him angry. Now, this is rather interesting. Somebody we tried to establish a marriage alliance with on a number of occasions is the King of Alba. We had an alliance with his father, with Donal's father, through, I think it was Aina. One of our daughters was betrothed to him. That alliance did not survive Constantine's death. Now our new ally, Kinnaid, is deciding to make an attempt on the crown, especially as Donal has become a murderer and a kinslayer. And he's actually pushing for his brother's claim to the throne, which isn't as good as if he went himself, considering that he is our future brother-in-law. And foolishly, one of the armies was actually caught. Now, if Moray would come down and join us, we'd probably be able to defeat Constantine. While we were sieging down the capital, Scotland's army has come in against us. Our brother-in-law is doing absolutely nothing. What I'm going to do for the lifestyle perks is I'm going to take thoughtful and defensive negotiations, and then I'm going to switch off of diplomacy. We're being given an option to appoint a new Chancellor. Trenka Mac Conglach is the top of the list. He has become the new High Chieftain of Ulster on the death of his father Conglach, who slipped on some butter and fell to his death. Finally, I think Moray has decided to go in against Scotland. We've had the numbers to take them on for a while, but they've been happy sieging random places. And our alliance with Moray has collapsed on the death of our half-sister. He will not accept a marriage with our daughter because we're at war. Yes, Kinnaid, a war that you dragged me into. Because Murdoch is suffering from very high levels of stress in the midst of this war, we're going to hold a feast, and we're going to hold it in honour of Trenka, because he has 2,500, almost 2,500 troops to his name, so he is a powerful vassal. He's happy with us at the moment, but we're going to make sure that we keep it that way. Assembled guests in honour of Trenka and in honour of his father Conglach, please raise your glasses and drop some butter into them. We've gained opinion with our vassals. We have wiped out all of that stress, which was actually threatening to go up to level 2. And we have hopefully secured a good friend in Trenka. Do you know what? We might as well try and secure that friendship in the most appropriate and the most fitting way that we know of. There you go. He's just like the father, mad for the butter. Now, speaking of people who are mad for the butter, I'm not too pushed if Moray wins this war or not. They're not really being very proactive. Scotland is sieging back its capital. Are they going to go up and attack them? I don't know. One thing I do know is that this divil from Munster is causing us more problems. Oh, well, this is absolutely fantastic. Our daughter has been captured, and the wife of our Archbishop and mother of their child, who did not gain Algernon's Herculean trait, she's been killed and our daughter has been captured, while we're doing absolutely nothing productive over here. Moray is just sieging places down, Scotland is coming in behind them and sieging them back. Well, this is rather interesting. The Duke of Leinster has ransomed out our daughter and presumably our wife. And to make all the pain go away, fair play to the man. He's literally and figuratively trying to butter us up. He's gifting us some luxury butter. So this is the guy that we installed as the ruler of Leinster. Possibly one of the greatest decisions that we have ever made. Look at the amount of money that man has spent. Oh, and this is absolutely fantastic timing. Our good friends in Munster, they're about to split the country effectively right down the middle along the Escoriada, dividing Le Queen from Le Moa. I was going to see if we could maybe do something, bring in our allies, bring our forces back and maybe attack Munster, but here we go. They've brought in their alliance from Brittany. 4,100 troops going to be arriving across in a few moments. It looks like we have lost Leinster and its supply of butter. So Seamus's claim to Alba has been won. And this is real insult to injury type stuff. We're being raided by Iceland, which is allied to Munster, but they haven't decided to involve themselves in this war. And unfortunately, what we're going to have to do, there's very little point in taking them on. It's going to be not a white peace, it's going to be a surrender, and they will seize control of Leinster. And fair play to them, Ulster have actually risen their army and gone in against the Viking horde. Our son Finian has come of age, as has his brother, his twin brother, Muel Isa. So I had actually stopped my army right here. And we're able to go in and deliver some bit of a belt to them. We're in a position to re-establish our alliance with Moray, but some better alternatives have arisen. And so we're going to organise a marriage between our eldest daughter and the King of Bavaria. Who needs Moray? Our battle bishop Algernon brings up some interesting theological points, and we can tell him that that is a reasonable point. Get 25 piety. And so with that bit of piety, we are finally, after 30 years of struggle, able to take a look at the last major addition from the Mayo flavoured update to the rice mod. Influence, the direction of Mayo of the Saxons. This is a reference to an ecclesiastical settlement that was created by Coleman, the abbot of Lindisfarne, after he left there following the Synod of Whitby in 664. So a big debate over the dating of Easter. And we have the option to either embrace Irish learning, revitalise English connections, or withdraw support from the school. So, Coleman was Irish. However, I think one of the first abbots of Mayo of the Saxons was the son of a king of Northumbria. So we can either lean in an Irish direction, or in an English, an Anglo-Saxon direction, or in a money direction. We're going to take a look at embrace Irish learning, so we get some history on the event. Founded in 668 by Coleman. And we need to be landed, we need to be Christian. We must have devoted servant, which we've just gotten, and illustrious level of fame. We must hold the earldom of Mayo, and that is why all those many decades ago, Magrone switched his capital to Mayo. And the Earl of Mayo is Christian, so it's going to cost 50 gold, and this will give us Flowering School of Mayo. It'll give us increased development growth. And it will also, at the top, give us increased legitimacy. It will give us increased piety and clergy opinion and Irish opinion. If we go with Revitalise the English Connections, we get a lot more prestige and piety. Christian monks and nuns from West Germanic heritage may occasionally spawn in Ireland. And we get increased diplomatic range. And if we go for withdraw support from the school, well, we get a ton of money. And we lose some piety. And we get a fairly hefty piety penalty. So for now, we are going to embrace Irish learning, so legitimacy, piety instead of prestige and piety, and increased clergy and Irish opinion. So we have these Anglo-Saxon monks travelling to Mayo, but we have decided to encourage closer ties between this new settlement and other Christian institutions in Ireland. So this is a new chapter in the history of Mayo. So there you go, this has been a look at the additions to Ireland from the Mayo flavoured update for the rice mod. We built some wells, we buried some butter, we gifted some butter, we climbed Croagh and we embraced Gaelic civilization. There's some interesting additions here, especially for insularism, many of them that we've seen before in the Tip Volume 2 mod. I do like the increased acceptance of Irish rulers to exchanging hostages and the scenarios that can create. I like the addition of the special buildings of Croagh and the Hill of Tara and the Rock of Cashel and others. Before, you'd have to go to Hadrian's Wall or to the Scottish capital. And even with what's present in Scotland and England and Wales, I think these are really interesting buildings which would probably make players in that region actually visit Ireland, especially for them. The Croagh pilgrimage itself is really powerful, a great way of getting prestige and piety and legitimacy, which was a big issue for Muireadach for a lot of the playthrough. And I didn't think that I was going to use the luxury butter option as much as I did, but it's a great way of, if you have strong relations with some people, of then basically spending money to get more prestige. And it's really interesting that they've done it by taking into consideration the relative ranks of the giver and the butter receiver. I really enjoyed my time with the mod, really enjoyed the updates to Ireland. I'll post a link to it below in the description. And of course, we've been promised that there will be further updates to Ireland from the mod in future. So, until then, thank you all very much for joining me, and may you too be blessed with rich and creamy butter.